There's two sayings that I have found quite fitting in life about forgiveness and resentments and stuff. And one of them, many of you have heard these statements, especially those of us in recovery, because they're repeated all the time. Holding on to resentments is like drinking poison in hopes that the other person will die. And the other one, which I like better, which is actually kind of the same thing, is it's not the snake bite that kills you, it's the venom. Myself, I never considered myself to be an unforgiving person towards others, that is. Whenever early teens, I started going downhill when my depressive episodes hit, and I started exploring ways to feel better, and my drugs and alcohol use started, and then I started doing everything. I just lost. By the time I was 16, I was gone. Like I fell off the face of the earth. I was in treatment for 6 months by the time I was 17. But anyway, I never, like with the lack of relationship with my father, I never blamed him. It was me. It was my problem. I was the perpetrator. I was the one that was at fault. I wasn't a good enough son. I was, not worthy of love. It was why was I rejected, not why are you rejecting me. It was what did I do to be rejected? What did I do to be abandoned by my own father, that he don't love me? And that even played a role into when I left church, because when I hit 16 and I got that little plastic driver's license, that little magic get lost card, I was gone. And that played also into my relationship with God, because it was no longer, God loves me. It was okay, because of what the Pentecostals displayed and taught and showed. It was a matter of, God doesn't love me anymore, and he doesn't want me because I'm sinning. And that drove me even deeper, just into like a complete no care whatsoever. And I hated myself, and I blamed myself, and I was mad at myself. And I didn't really realize that there was anger in there from my dad. There was unforgiveness from my dad, but I blamed myself. And the unforgiveness that I carried towards myself, I was drinking my own poison, hoping I would die. Like the snake bite of reality. It wasn't even reality. It wasn't even his fault I felt the way I did. It was just a lack of understanding on how to be a father. But I still blamed myself, and I still drove myself down this pit of despair, because I could not forgive myself for being a terrible son. I could not forgive myself for the things that I had done to him to cause him to not love me. I could not forgive myself for the stealing. I could not forgive myself for the drug use. I couldn't forgive myself for nothing. It was, that's who I am as a person. So why would I forgive myself for doing something, that's who I am? And that played along all my life. Even when life got good, when I would turn back to God, and he would come in, and I would allow him in, and I'd get to praying and reading and doing good. It played into everything, even the good stuff. Imposter syndrome would come in. When I would have a good job and I'd be doing great, it was always, I'm not doing good enough. My bosses would come tell me, man, you're doing really good work. I couldn't say anything. I'd just shrug my shoulders, thank you, or not even say thank you. Just be like, yeah, whatever, because it wasn't good enough. I don't know what I was trying to achieve to actually make myself feel that it was good enough, because I don't think I would have ever achieved it until I achieved self-forgiveness. Because no matter what I did, I was never good enough. I couldn't forgive myself for being a piece of trash, for being a loser, for being a loner. And, in every aspect of my life, having friends, even in whatever friend group I was in, I never truly fit in. I never belonged, because I was just this loser kid, and that's what I believed. And it's always been so easy to forgive others, because for me, whenever anybody did something bad to me or around me, the first thing that I always did was say, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to have this happen to me? What did I do to cause all this? And Even, there's been many times in my life I did do it. A lot of it was my fault, but there's been many other times that it had nothing to do with me. And I still blamed myself, and I always let others off the hook, and I let it go. And because it was my fault for some reason, some kind of way, that I was a bad person and I deserved that to happen to me because I'm the problem. Because there's no forgiveness for me. And my whole life, even up to this day, it still plays in that. Like, I don't look at what other people do. For me, I'm always first person to go look in the mirror and say, what did you do to cause this, Craig? Like, it doesn't matter how bad somebody hurt me. Like, I still, it's my fault. I did this. And over the years, God began to work in me, and he really opened some things up to me and showed me some things that really changed the way I looked at myself. And the first thing, and this helped me to play into others too, because the funny thing is I was doing this to others before I was doing it to myself. I wouldn't do it to myself, I'd do it to others, because I would see other people and I would see what they do, and I would see, their actions. And it was like, okay, they did this. Okay, they did this. Okay, what they did doesn't matter, because they did this because of X, Y, and Z. Maybe we see a homeless person on the side of the road drunk doing drugs, and I gotta have heart for them, because I know that mostly all of them are not bad people. They've had bad situations happen in their life, and if I see somebody stealing something, or it could be because they have a need for their family, and then all of a sudden the stealing is like, okay, you know what, they needed that for their kid. Yes, stealing's wrong, I'm not saying it's okay, but it's kind of, the way you look at it changes. And that especially applies to, like I'm saying, like with homeless people that do drugs and alcohol, and they're on the streets and they're under the bridge, and it's a matter of they're terrible people. They're low lifes. They shouldn't be drinking. They shouldn't be doing. Shut up. Like, for real. I've been on the streets and I know what it's like. I have slept in trap houses, not tried to sleep. My God, I've done it. And the thing that we have to realize is that a lot of these people that are on the streets got dealt a really bad hand of cards. Myself, let's just give a hypothetical situation. Like, say, good dude, driving down the road, made a mistake, got a little drunk, pulled over, you're not pulled over, but hit somebody and killed him, went to prison. And they made a mistake. That was a bad stuttering. That was a bad mistake. That was really not good. Obviously, they go to prison for a few years, get out, and can't get back on their feet. So now, not only do they live with the guilty conscience of killing somebody, but they also went to prison for a few years, get out, and just can't get back on their feet and have a hard time of life. And now they're homeless and they're drunk. They have no family. They have no home. They have no car. They have nothing. They have no skills. They could, just stuff like that happens. And they end up just accepting this lifestyle of, I'm going to be like this forever. And instead of seeing that, instead of saying, hey, this person was dealt a bad hand, what can we do to help? We say, oh, well, go get a job. Quit drinking. Go get a job. Go take a bath. Like, what the hell is wrong with us? Excuse my language. Like, me, myself, if I was homeless and I had lost everything and I was out on the streets living under a bridge and I had no hope and I had no care and I lost all desire to even be alive, and the only thing that could give me any kind of relief from all that pain was alcohol, you better believe I'd be out there drinking. That $5 bill that you hand me, I'm going to go straight to get some beer, and I'm going to be so grateful to you and God for it, because that's the only thing that would take me away from the pain that's in my head. But what that ties into is we tend to look at people's actions instead of looking at the reason why they did it. And that ties into forgiveness and resentment, big time, because what we tend to do, one of the things God shows me, and he really helped me this dealt the biggest blow to my self-forgiveness that I've ever had in my life, is I was sitting down, I think I was in like a treatment class or something one time, and it really come up in my spirit. How do you talk to yourself? What do you say to yourself when you're by yourself and you're talking and you're just going down this dialogue of this internal dialogue. Do you ever sit, is it only one person you hear? Does it sound like two people? Because it's not really two people, but it sounds like in your head you're talking to somebody. Who are you talking to? Because for me, myself, it's like, man, I hate myself. I hate that I did that. I can't stand myself. I can't live with myself. And I don't even know if I can put that in words. For me, I got a revelation that there's two different sides to each person. And a lot of us have known this, and we've all seen the memes, and we've all seen, I'll just stick with the meme. We see a meme where there's a brain and there's a heart. And the brain is pointing a gun at the heart. Like, no, not again. You messed up last time. And that really opened my eyes to something. There is two sides to pretty much every person. There is who we truly are, and there is who we think we are. Who we truly are is in here. Everybody has a heart. And my viewpoint of that is your heart is your morals. That's who you are as a person. Your mind is the way you think about yourself and the way you think about who you are. Because let's say the drugs. I hated with a passion that I could not stop doing drugs. I talked about it before. I can remember one night I had taken my mom's car, taken her debit card. I was on the way to the bank and I could not turn around. And I am screaming and cussing. I mean cussing at God. I remember one time I even tried to sell my soul to the devil just so I could get some peace, so I could stop doing this to my family. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand, okay, if I'm a person that hates doing these drugs, why can I not stop doing these drugs? In my heart, I hated doing drugs. I hated doing bad. I hated doing all these things. But in my mind, who had control of my body, I couldn't stop. Lord help me. And I had to take and separate the two of them. Because if I had no problem doing drugs, if I had a bad heart, if my heart was cold and stone and I just didn't care, then I wouldn't have a problem with doing drugs or stealing or what I was doing. I would be okay with it. I'd be all right with doing these things. It wouldn't bother me. I would just do it and be like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. But because God gave me a good heart, I hated who I was, and I was in so much sorrow and pain and loss that I was doing these things that I didn't want to do. Even Paul himself said, I do things that I do not want to do. And the good I want to do, I don't do, because he understood it. And I had to separate the two sides of myself. There was my heart knowledge and there was my brain. There was my soul, my mind. And I had to come to the realization that the things that I did up here were not in correlation with who I was down here. In my heart, I hated stealing. I hated doing drugs. I hated being a bad person. I hated all the people I hurt. And I hated myself even more because I did it. But because my mind was messed up, my heart was good. My heart was full of love. My heart was full of joy. But it was all trapped inside. Because in my mind, I had this filter. Because everything in my heart, that when it came out, it came through this filter of rejection, abandonment. I'm not good enough. These desires that I have in my heart stayed in my heart and they never left because they wouldn't get past the filters of I'm not good enough. I'm lost. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. And that played into every situation in my life. I got into a couple of relationships when I was, all through the years with some good people that I hurt because of not good enough. I'm not good enough for this person. And I would start picking up. There's one girl I almost married 10, 15 years ago, something like that. And really, really good person. And I adored her, and I left because for me, it was like, you're a good person. I'm not good enough for you. And it hurt me so bad, and I didn't understand these things. And there's so many people throughout my life that I've hurt because of fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, because I'm not good enough. And when they're going to find out I'm not good enough, they're going to love me. Even though they tell me, oh, you're a good dude, you got a good heart. I've had people tell me all my life, you're a good person, and da-da-da-da, and I never believed it. I was like, you're a liar. Why are you telling this to me? But I had to come to the revelation, and God really showed me this, that who I was as a person, the qualities that God put in me, kindness, softness, gentleness, just all these qualities that the world considers soft was from God. That's what he gave me. And it was all stuffed inside of me and held up behind this brick wall of rejection and abandonment and sorrow and all this. And who I was and what I was doing didn't line up. It was not the same. So what I had to come to the realization that the things that I was doing was not me. The Bible said it is not me, it is the sin that is living inside of me. The sin, the lies of abandonment, the lies of rejection, the lies of self-hatred, all of that. That was what was doing it. And I never understood. And when I finally come to the realization that who I was as a person never changed. I am who I am today because God's the way God made me before the foundations of the earth. I have kindness, I'm soft, I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm gentle, all this stuff. But it was never able to, people saw it in me. Yeah, it come out, but because I saw myself through these other lenses, I never believed it, and it was a lie, and I could not forgive myself. And once I finally got to the point where I was able to say, hey, those things that I did not do. That was the addiction acting out. That was the loneliness acting out. That was the rejection acting out. That was the abandonment operating in me and making me do these things to make my body feel better. When I was able to separate the two, the forgiveness that I was able to, not only for myself, but for my father, because my father didn't really reject me or abandon me. He just didn't know how to be a father. He didn't have the skills. He didn't know how. And I didn't find out until I had my son, like, wow, this is really awkward. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a father. And it wasn't until then I was really able to say, hey, you know what? That wasn't my dad's fault. Because my dad actually did a better job than his dad for him. His dad left him when he was 8 years old. My dad stuck around, even though he didn't know how to be a father, and it caused me to have feelings of abandonment and rejection and all that. He still stuck around and demonstrated how to be a good man to me. And I was able to, when I was able to sit down and say, you know what, it wasn't his fault, I forgive him. And then when I was able to sit down and say, hey, I hate stealing. That wasn't me that stole. That was the addiction and the abandonment and all this. That wasn't me that did them drugs. That was what was in me, causing me to do that just so I would feel better. Feel better. That's what it's all about. And we don't understand that. We see people out here stealing. We see people out here homeless. We see people out here doing drugs, and we think they're a bad people. But the fact of the matter remains is they're freaking hurting, man. They're hurting like hell. The stuff that some of us have gone through in our lives, and the pain and the rejection and just God awful stuff that we have to carry around up here every single day of our lives. Could you imagine being a good dude and just having a few drinks one night and then killing a family? What you got to live with the rest of your life, and then we're treating them like a piece of crap because they're out on the streets getting drunk every day? Come on, man. We got to start loving people no matter what. No matter what, because every time we see somebody doing something bad, usually there's a reason behind it, and it's usually not their fault. Man. But yeah, I hope somebody understands and can get something from that, especially those of us in the recovery community that are fighting our own demons with our past and what we've done and the places we've been and all that. We've got to learn how to forgive ourselves. We've got to learn how to let go of the past and even the things that have happened to us, because hurt people hurt people. A lot of times we were hurt by our parents, but they were also hurt by their parents. A lot of times, we had friends that, did bad stuff, but why? Why did they do that? Instead of looking at the actions, look at why they did it. And when forgiveness comes, man, it changes the lifestyle. We got to stop looking at people because of their actions and look at, why they did it. Because condemning people for their actions, condemning your brother or sister or your person next to you because of their actions instead of showing love is not going to heal what's going on in this world right now. Condemnation is not going to change hearts. Accusation is not going to change hearts. Lies aren't going to change hearts. Love and forgiveness is what's going to change people's lives. And it really changed my life. You know, I still had issues. I still had issues with drugs and alcohol. But the fact remains that whenever I was able to forgive myself, the way I thought about myself was even different. Like when I would relapse, I instead of saying, you know, screw it, that's just who I am, I stood up and I said, no, I'm going to fight. And I went to treatment 3 times in 2020. If I wouldn't have had any self-forgiveness, I would have fell off the face of the earth and y'all wouldn't have seen me for years and years. But what happened, and I was able to forgive myself and say, you know what, I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to grow. I'm going to get out of this because I am good enough, because I forgave myself. And I went to treatment 3 times, fighting for my own sanity, for my own life. And, man, anyway, I hope y'all get some help out of this, some healing out of this. You know, I'm not nobody. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not none of that. I'm just a 40-year-old guy with about 140 years worth of experience that I've lived through different, just God, the stuff I've been through. Thank God for self-forgiveness. Next time somebody hurts you, try and think about why they did it instead of what they did. It's helped me so much, looking at, you know, why people do things instead of what they do. I love each and every one of y'all, man, and if there's anything I can tell you, is that God loves you. Don't let anybody lie to you. Don't let religion lie to you like it did me. Religion lied through its teeth to me and told me that God wanted nothing to do with me. But relationship has taught me, hey, you know what? Yeah, you screwed up. Get up, dust yourself off. I love you. Let's do this again, and let's grow again. Let's move forward, and let's see if you learned anything. I love you. Y'all have a good evening.